going on, everyone? So the Atlanta Hawks are trying to trade John Collins. They have seemed to just be trying to trade John Collins since they basically drafted John Collins, right? He's always the guy that seems to be in the trade rumors, and they are trying to kind of figure out these puzzle pieces, right? Atlanta ends up trading for Dejounte Murray, and it's just been kind of clunky, and John Collins' production's really taken a significant dip. Atlanta can't really seem to shoot the ball, which is interesting because they have, Trae Young, and they have several shooters on this team. And even Dejounte Murray has been, a serviceable 3-point shooter. And it's just not a very good team, and Atlanta, one of the biggest things that I think Atlanta kind of ruined their future in many ways is them making the Eastern Conference Finals, because I think it made them believe that they were better than they really were. And I think it made them believe, like, okay, we're only a piece or two away. And then Dejounte Murray became available, and it was like, man, that's the piece. And it's like, in theory, you're like, okay, well, Trae Young is such a great shooter. Okay, like, maybe you could play off the ball, but you kind of neutralize, like, what made him so great amongst the other players, right? And now it's just kind of this clunky fit, Dejounte Murray, and it's just kind of like, there's no pecking order, right? Like, most big threes or, teams that have, similar players and stuff, there's usually a pecking order. And then with that pecking order, like, allows the proper production. And Trae Young hasn't had, like, the greatest season this year. He's been kind of, he's been good, but he hasn't really been great. And it's just, Atlanta's just not very good. And they look like a team that is going to struggle to make the playoffs and may even be a play-in team, which is really surprising. And then on top of that, you add in just the Trae Young drama and just everything going on. It raises a lot of questions about his maturity and just him being coachable, right? He already ran one coach out of town, and now he's already having issues again. And it's not a good look for Trae Young. And the thing is like, look, usually if it comes down to the star or the coach is usually the one that's gone. The Atlanta would probably fire Atkins at any moment if it meant keeping Trae Young happy. But it's like, it happens once. All right, okay. I can understand that. Not everybody gets along. This young star happens twice. You're kind of like, all right, maybe it's you. It's like, come on, like what are we doing here? And Trae Young is a great talent, but is he really a guy that can lead the charge and be your best guy on a championship team? I'm not really sold, and I don't really think that he's your best guy on a contender. And maybe they win a championship and proving it wrong, but as great of a shooter as he is, he's really small, and just his decision making at times, and just, he's kind of this guy, like, he has to play great constantly for him to really be a factor, because he has so many, just lack of, like, again, size, things like that it really hinders him. If his shot and stuff aren't falling, he's not big enough to just, put his head down and get to the basket and go get an easy bucket, right? Like, he's really got to work for all his stuff, and he's kind of Steph Curry light, but one, they don't have the talent around him that, Steph does, and he's not as good as Steph, right? And he doesn't even really have the size of Steph, as silly as that sounds. But when you really look at it and think about it, you're like, yeah, you know what? You're kind of right? And just the craftiness that Steph is, and all of those things. And so it begs a real question of, should Atlanta just trade Trae Young? And I know some people, and especially Atlanta fans, probably thinking, no way, no how, that's silly, that's ridiculous, but it's really not. It's really, like, if you really just kind of remove your bias for Trae Young, or you remove your bias as an Atlanta fan, and you look at the full picture, and you look at this team, trading Trae Young actually makes a lot of sense, because you're probably going to get a very significant return for Trae Young. Two, I really think that this team might actually gel better without Trae Young. I think Trae Young, he's just not a leader, at least right now. He's still very young. He still has a lot of maturing to do, a lot of growth to do and stuff like that. But he's not really the leader that they need, and they don't really seem to have that leader, especially when your best player isn't that guy. And again, I just don't think he's the best player on a championship team. Like, I don't think you win a championship with Trae Young being your number one guy. I just don't. And then lastly, I just think Dejounte Murray, with the team that they have right now, I think he's just the better overall fit. Like, I think this team is built better around Dejounte Murray than they are built around Trae Young. Like, I think if you took Trae Young off this team and you gave them some quality production, I actually think that Atlanta might be pretty good, right? Like, I wouldn't be shocked if this is a team that makes it to the, Eastern Conference again, or, ends up being a tough out. And depending on what you get for Trae Young, you might even make an argument that they could be even better in a team that could legit be like a contender. I think it just depends on what you get for Trae Young. Because if you're Atlanta, you're not looking for like a rebuild package, right? You're not looking to go and get a bunch of draft picks, stuff like that. You're trying to get probably a better fitting star or something like that, right? But like, if you're Atlanta and say Kevin Durant becomes available, yes, Kevin Durant's age is a concern and stuff, but I think if you got like Kevin Durant and added him to Atlanta with Dejounte Murray, I think that's a legit contender. I think with the team Atlanta has, if you got Kevin Durant, I think that'd be a legit contender. And I think that's a deal that the Nets might actually take, assuming Kevin Durant becomes available again. I don't think it would happen this year, but in the same breath, I don't think Atlanta should trade Trae Young this year, right? I think you trade him in the offseason. So if in the offseason, like Kevin Durant becomes available, if you're Atlanta, you might want to dangle, because you're going to have him for at least another 3 years, and I think you might be able to win a championship in those 3 years, because just the talent that Atlanta has, I think would just really fit around Kevin Durant so much better. And you can make an argument, Atlanta, with Dejounte Murray and, Clint Capella and just all of their pieces, Hunter and all that, like even John Collins, like you can make an argument that like with Kevin Durant, like that might be one of the best teams Kevin Durant's ever been on, right? Like that would be really good. Like that's better than the Nets team they have right now, in my opinion. Like I think that they just are better. I mean, obviously it's not Kevin Durant with the Warriors and stuff, but I think you can even make an argument that it's better than the OKC team, right? Because you got like Dejounte Murray, who is in my opinion, more well-rounded for the age, right? I mean, Russell Westbrook, all-time player, Hall of Famer, MVP, triple-double guy. But like, if you look in comparison of like when Russell Westbrook was on the team with Kevin Durant, Dejounte Murray is more well-refined than Russell Westbrook was then, right? And so I think you have that Kevin Durant coming in. I think that is something. And look, I'm just using Kevin Durant as an example. I'm not saying like go trade Kevin Durant or anything like that. But a star that could be better fitting, like say a Bradley Beal becomes available, right? Like I think you add Bradley Beal to this team, I think you can make an argument that they're a contender, right? I think that they have a lot of talent, and I just think Dejounte Murray, his skill set just fits so much better with the team you have. That like if you were able to get a nice package for Trae Young, because you probably can, right? Like you could probably get like, several pieces for Trae Young. Like if you could work out a deal, and get like say to Washington, right? Like let's just say Bradley Beal. Like if you could get like Kyle Kuzma and Bradley Beal for like Trae Young and, some pieces or something, like I think you can possibly be a legit contender. Like, I think you could be at least one of the better teams, maybe a top 3 team. Because Dejounte Murray's that good, right? Dejounte Murray has shown, like, he can carry a team. Like, he can do a lot. I still don't think, he's best player on, a championship team. But you go get another guy or two or put, like, a really talented roster around him, I think that they could probably win a championship. It's just, Trae Young, as great as he is and as talented as he is, I don't know if this is the right team built for Trae Young. And I think that they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think that they believe like, oh, we're just a piece or two away. Basically kind of the reverse of what Minnesota did. They went big, Atlanta went small, and you lost, like Herter and guys like that. It's just, I don't know. I just think that Minnesota looked at it and was like, oh man, we're a piece away from being a legit contender. Let's go get Rudy Gobert. And it's been a disaster. I think Atlanta's kind of in the same boat, because just like what they did with Rudy and the Minnesota did with Rudy, like they basically got a player that neutralized their two best players. And Atlanta kind of did the same thing. They went and got a guy that kind of just neutralizes Trae Young because like you got to the Eastern Finals with like Trae Young being the guy and him having the ball and taking 30 shots a game and stuff like that. Now he's got to kind of fit and make it work. So of course his production's going down. Of course it's a little clunky, all that stuff. And it's just, and I just think one, on their road to the Eastern Conference Finals, it took a lot of just luck and things to kind of go their way for them to get there. It wasn't like they were just that much better than all the other teams and they just ran through everybody and made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think that was the worst thing that could have happened to Atlanta because I think it just made them believe, okay, like we are a piece away. And then Dejounte Murray became available and was like, oh, let's go get him. That's, nearly a triple-double guy, right? That's an all-star level guy. Like perfect. That's a guy we can come in. He's dirt cheap, like all that. And I just think it was a bad move for Atlanta. So I think if you're Atlanta, you either trade Dejounte Murray or you trade Trae Young. And I just think the team you currently have constructed would suit Dejounte Murray so much better. And I think it would be easier to build a team around Murray than Trae Young, right? Because for Trae Young, you essentially need, like, Trae Young needs, like, the Raptors, right? Bunch of, like, big, sizable wings that can do multiple things, guard multiple positions to kind of make up for what Trae Young can't do, right? Like, that kind of is something that I think he would be great on, like a team like that, right? Like with Trae Young, you kind of need like a bunch of 3-and-D guys around him, right? You need like 3 other 6'8" guys to kind of put around him that can kind of guard other teams' best players and basically do all the dirty work. Each one of them gives you, 15 a game, and then Trae's giving you, 30 a game, right? And it's like, okay, you're getting, you're putting up your 100 and your 115 points or whatever a game, and you're holding all other teams to like 105. Like, cool, perfect. Like, there you go. Like, that's kind of what I think you'd have to do around Trae Young. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I don't, if I'm being honest, I don't think that they would trade Trae Young. I don't think that for a moment that's even an idea in their mind. Like I said, I think they would get rid of everybody on Atlanta except for Trae Young. But I do think it makes a lot of sense to trade Trae Young. It's just finding the right package. Like, you're not trading Trae Young just to trade Trae Young. But if you could find the right package, the right deal, the right star, then, I would consider it. Like I said, if you could get, even if it's not a Kevin Durant or anything, like, I don't know, whoever, even like a Devin Booker, for whatever reason, Devin Booker was like, oh, I want out. Like, go get Devin Booker. Like, I think Dejounte Murray and Devin Booker with the rest of the team that Atlanta has would be really good. I think you have a legit contender, right? Like, something like that. Go get like a legit scoring guard, like another star, all-star level guy that can come in, put up some points, do multiple things, and kind fit more seamlessly next to Murray. Like, that'd be great. Something like that. But anyway, again, however you feel, let me know. Good, bad, ugly, somewhere between, down in the comment section below.